Hello everyone, this is Bentley. Today's going to be a little simple. We're in front of the angelfish tank, which also has Bob, the freshwater sponge. And as you can probably see behind me, there is a mass of stems that have really overgrown and definitely need a trimming. Now over here is a lot of crypspiralis. We'll cut to some B-roll so that you can see this tank better instead of just my face, but you can see there's definitely some work to be done to trim down these stems and get them back under control, and also give the angels a little bit more swim space by doing that. We're going to do a trim. We're going to talk a little bit about this tank, what's been going on, how's Bob, how are the angels. Pretty simple. So relax and enjoy. We got two things going on here. We got the huge cluster of stems. This is a Leopoldi species. And there's kind of two methodologies we could use to trim this. We could either trim about halfway, or if we were being really aggressive, we would trim only a few inches off of the surface of the substrate. Now, I want to keep some of these stems, and I don't want to replant too many. So what I'm going to do is trim it about halfway up. Just use my nice little curved shears here and get in and get to work. So what I'm trimming, what I want to do, I'm going to use this stem as an example here, is I want to trim right above a leaf. So if I turn this a little bit, you'll see I've got this leaf right here, and that's where I want to trim. And you'll see some aerial roots. And the reason why I'd want to do this is these aerial roots can be, when we go to replant, roots to establish this plant from the start. So trim like right here, and then you'd see this plant here. You can either replant it, or you're going to sell it in a bundle or whatever. Now I'm going to go through, I'm not going to be super careful on every single stem. I'm just going to make sure that my fish are out of the way, and I can get in and get some of the stem work cleaned up quite a bit, because it's very overgrown. See one of my plecos in the back there. But you can be super careful about this if you're trying to like build up an aquascape, or maybe you want to get something nice and dense for the first time. But in my case, there's just so much overgrowth that I really just need to take care of the problem first. And I can create the right size stems to plant down if I want to add more. You can even see, just from that short amount of trimming, right? We didn't go in, and we can pull this huge mass. And you can see how much it's grown. And there's no CO2 in this tank right now. Just getting good light and some ferts, and it's growing like wildfire. You can see that. There's lots and lots and lots of plant matter. So there's the initial base trim, right? You can already see kind of in the back, if I can get this mass out of the way. This is by the way, this is Leopoldi cross Repens arcuata. So it's Repens that has been crossed with arcuata, which is why it has that cool little kind of spear-shaped leaf to it, like a spear tip. But you can see in the back just how much more lit up this is already. Now, we do want to replant some of these. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm not going to show you the replant, but after we're done with that, we're going to talk a little bit about the angels and Bob. So as you can probably tell by different shirt, hat, it's the next day. It's not dark out, right? I decided I needed to clean my filter in here at the same time, and it kind of put out a little bit of a gunk cloud after I fired it back up. So I need to let that process and kind of clear up the water so we could see everything. I got it trimmed. I replanted some of the stems. You can tell I took a huge mass of plants out of there. Now the thing is, what's nice about this particular species of Leopoldi, which again, that's Repens cross arcuata, it's a naturally occurring hybrid. It grows pretty fast, even without CO2. It's Leopoldi, so don't expect it to grow like crazy fast, but I could expect to get similar growth probably in about a month. So there's a giant ball, what you can't see in this tank behind me that I have not lit at the moment, where it's just kind of hiding out because I'm going to take a bunch of those plants and get them to some locals. Let's talk about a few things. I've got some B-roll that's going to come through. You see the angels. The angels are doing amazing. I know I have one pair inside the tank, and eventually my goal is to breed the Leopoldis. It'd be the first angel that I've ever personally bred. But I want to do a wild angel just because that's a little more to my heart than when I was a kid. You know, I've got a lot of angelfish breeders that are local in this area, and Leopoldis don't seem to be one of the ones that people are doing. It's a lot of the strains. So we're dealing with things like your the Pinoy Blues, or Blacks, or Marbles, or Koi Reds, all that kind of stuff, right? I want to do something wild that I really appreciate. Plus, I love the fact that this is as big as these angels really get, and they look phenomenal. They just look like tiny Altum angels, and that's really amazing to me. Second, Bob. So, in B-roll you'll see, but like, Bob originally started right about here in the tank. And then at one point, Bob was kind of all over the place, right, in these little parts. And you can see, like, Bob's growing a little bit bigger here, but then died back some. But naturally is occurring also in a corner of the tank over this way. And there's some other spots too. And part of this is there's some Wobbin Mooster Plecos in here. And they can, at times, graze a little bit on the sponge. Now, thankfully, I feed them pretty heavily, which you're going to see, like, there's a bunch of them on my substrate. I've got water changes coming up. Basically, the day that you guys actually see this video, where I'll be doing a bunch of vacuuming and pulling up some of that excess mulm. But this is kind of level, just so you see when you see in the B-roll. This is the amount of mulm I get to where then I decide I need to clean it up in a water change. Otherwise, this huge mass of crypts between the ponderdifolia and the spiralis that are in here really do a good job of absorbing the nutrients from that until that mulm becomes neutral and safe. And honestly, this tank is really well balanced to handle excess mulm loads, other than, of course, it, you know, bogs down the filter after a little while. But this has a Magnum Hot on it, which is super powerful, can deal with a lot of stuff, and honestly, like, can take a lot of abuse. It's a lot like a miniature FX6 in a way, where that thing can just take some abuse and keep on going. Other than that, it's pretty simple. Bob's still kicking, doing good. What about Bob? Bob's okay. The angels are looking great. I love coming in and watching them. They're still skittish. They still act like wild-caught animals where, yeah, they kind of trust me when I put food in, but sometimes when I'm putting my hand in the tank or whatever, they're a little like, yeah, I don't trust this guy at all. And every once in a while they get spooked and fly over the place, and I'm terrified that they're going to go jumping out of the tank. But I think you can even see them picking on each other behind me. One of the things I need to do is eventually get them separated. So the three like spare males that aren't a part of the dedicated pair, I'd probably move to a bigger tank like my retirement tank or something and just let them live out and relax and chill in something a little bit bigger. While the dedicated pair I would put into a breeding setup and try to breed the angelfish. That's going to be a longer term goal. I'm hoping sometime by like the end of this year I get to start doing that. And I'll need some help because it's really hard for me to identify the pair every once in a while. Unless they're actively laying eggs. And they haven't actively laid eggs in a little bit, mostly because of the plecos. But I know they will if I get them separated and give them what they need. So, yeah, that's kind of a short update. I know this is like a kind of weird video, but I just wanted to show like a stem trimming and show like how aggressively I'll trim stems when I'm growing them out, and how much plant matter I'll remove and not try to replant because I know I can keep growing it if I want to. And I don't want this tank too dense. That spiralis is already fairly dense. I want to have the angels have some room to swim around and not like just a thin line where then the other males start fighting with each other too much. I want them to have space to get apart from each other and have some safe havens while also still having a beautiful planted tank. So with that being said, if you guys enjoy this video, please, please, please give it a thumbs up, give it the like, send a comment down below. You know, is there anything you learned in this video? Or are you just like, I knew all this stuff? Or are you just like, how do I get that plant, Bentley? You know, whatever it may be. Let me know in the comments down below. You know, I could love hearing from you guys. Other than that, if you're interested in little like random kind of dives into the fish room when I'm doing some maintenance or stuff like that, let me know that stuff too. If you're new here, consider giving us a subscribe, ring the little notification bell, all the usual YouTube beggarino things. It helps the channel grow, and more importantly, it's the best thing you can actually do to support your local small fish tuber. That being said, guys, thank you so much for watching, and stay awesome.